leaving the island of Soccoterra and steering a course between south and southwest for 1,000 miles. You arrive at the great island of Madagascar, which is one of the largest and most fertile in the world. In circuit, it is 3,000 miles. The inhabitants are Saracens, or followers of the law of Muhammad. They have 4 sheikhs, which in our language may be expressed by elders who divide the government amongst them. The people subsist by trade and manufacture and sell a vast number of elephants' teeth, as those animals abound in the country, as they do also in that of Zanzibar, from whence the exportation is equally great. The principal food eaten at all seasons of the year is the flesh of camels. That of the other cattle serves them also for food, but the former is preferred, as being both the most wholesome and the most palatable of any to be found in this part of the world. The woods contain many trees of red sandal, and, in proportion to the plenty in which it is found, the price of it is low. There is also much ambergris from the whales, and as the tide throws it on the coast, it is collected for sale. The natives catch lynxes, tigers, and a variety of other animals, such as stags, antelopes, and fallow deer, which afford much sport, as do also birds, which are different from those of our climates. The island is visited by many ships from various parts of the world, bringing assortments of goods consisting of brocades and silks of various patterns, which are sold to the merchants of the island, or bartered for goods in return, upon all of which they make large profits. There is no resort of ships to the other numerous islands lying further south, this and the island of Zanzibar alone being frequented. This is the consequence of the sea running with such prodigious velocity in that direction as to render their return impossible. The vessels that sail from the coast of Malabar for this island perform the voyage in 20 or 25 days, but in their returning voyage are obliged to struggle for 3 months. So strong is the current of water, which constantly runs to the southward. The people of the island report that, at a certain season of the year, an extraordinary kind of bird, which they call a rook, makes its appearance from the southern region. In form it is said to resemble the eagle, but it is incomparably greater in size, being so large and strong as to seize an elephant with its talons, and to lift it into the air, from whence it lets it fall to the ground, in order that when dead it may prey upon the carcass. Persons who have seen this bird assert that when the wings are spread, they measure 16 places in extent from point to point, and that the feathers are 8 paces in length and thick in proportion. Messer Marco Polo, conceiving that these creatures might be griffins, such as are represented in paintings, half birds and half lions, particularly questioned those who reported their having seen them as to this point, but they maintained that their shape was altogether that of birds, or, as it might be said, of the eagle. The Grand Khan, having heard this extraordinary relation, sent messengers to the island, on the pretext of demanding the release of one of his servants who had been detained there, but in reality to examine the circumstances of the country and the truth of the wonderful things told of it. When they returned to the presence of His Majesty, they brought with them, as I have heard, a feather of the rook, positively affirmed to have measured 90 spans, and the quill part to have been 2 palms in circumference. This surprising exhibition afforded His Majesty extreme pleasure, and upon those by whom it was presented, he bestowed valuable gifts. They were also the bearers of the tusk of a wild boar, an animal that grows there to the size of a buffalo, and it was found to weigh 14 pounds. Beyond the island of Madagascar lies that of Zanzibar, which is reported to be in circuit 2,000 miles. The inhabitants worship idols, have their own peculiar language, and do not pay tribute to any foreign power. In their persons they are large, but their height is not proportioned to the bulk of their bodies. Were it otherwise, they would appear gigantic. They are, however, strongly made, and one of them is capable of carrying what would be a load for 4 of our people. At the same time, he would require as much food as 5. They are black and go naked, covering only the private parts of the body with a cloth. Their hair is so crisp that even when dipped in water it can with difficulty be drawn out. There are in this island the most ill-favored women in the world, with large mouths and thick noses and ill-favored breasts, 4 times as large as those of other women. They feed on flesh, milk, rice, and dates. They have no grapevines, but make a sort of wine from rice and sugar, with the addition of some spicy drugs, very pleasant to the taste, and having the intoxicating quality of the other. In this island, elephants are found in vast numbers. and their teeth form an important article of trade. With respect to these quadrupeds, it should be observed that their mode of copulating is the reverse of that of the brute creation in general, in consequence of the position of the female organ, and follows that of the human species. In this country is also found the giraffe or camelopard, which is a handsome beast. The body is well proportioned, the forelegs long and high, the hind legs short, the neck very long, the head small, and in its manners it is gentle. Its prevailing color is light, with circular reddish spots. Its height or length of the neck, including the head, is 3 paces. The sheep of the country are different from ours, being all white excepting their heads, which are black, and this also is the color of the dogs. Animals in general have a different appearance from ours. Many trading ships visit the place, which barter the goods they bring for elephants' teeth and ambergris, of which much is found on the coasts of the island in consequence of the sea abounding with whales. The chiefs of the island are sometimes engaged in warfare with each other, and their people display much bravery in battle and contempt of death. They have no horses, but fight upon elephants and camels. Upon the backs of the former they place castles, capable of containing from 15 to 20 men, armed with swords, lances, and stones, with which weapons they fight. Previously to the combat they give draughts of wine to their elephants, supposing that it renders them more spirited and more furious in the assault. The inhabitants find much ambergris upon their coasts, which is voided from the entrails of whales. Being an article of merchandise in great demand, they make it a business to take these fish, and this they do by means of a barbed iron, which they strike into the whale so firmly that it cannot be drawn out. To the iron, harpoon, a long line is fastened, with a buoy at the end, for the purpose of discovering the place where the fish, when dead, is to be found. They then drag it to the shore, and proceed to extract the ambergris from its belly, whilst from its head they procure several casks of spermaceti oil. All the people, both male and female, go nearly naked, having only a scanty covering before and behind, like the idolaters who have been described. They have no other grain than rice, upon which, with flesh and milk, they subsist. Their religion is Christianity, and they are duly baptized, and are under the government, as well temporal as spiritual, of an archbishop, who is not in subjection to the Pope of Rome, but to a patriarch, who resides in the city of Baghdad, by whom he is appointed, or, if elected by the people themselves, by whom their choice is confirmed. Many pirates resort to this island with the goods they have captured, and which the natives purchase of them without any scruple, justifying themselves on the ground of their being plundered from idolaters and Saracens. All ships bound to the province of Aden touch here, and make large purchases of fish and of ambergris, as well as of various kinds of cotton goods manufactured on the spot. The inhabitants deal more in sorcery and witchcraft than any other people, although forbidden by their archbishop, who excommunicates and anathematizes them for the sin. Of this, however, they make little account, and if any vessel belonging to a pirate should injure one of theirs, they do not fail to lay him under a spell, so that he cannot proceed on his cruise until he has made satisfaction for the damage. And even although he should have had a fair and leading wind, they have the power of causing it to change, and thereby of obliging him, in spite of himself, to return to the island. They can, in like manner, cause the sea to become calm, and at their will can raise tempests, occasion shipwrecks, and produce many other extraordinary effects that need not be particularized.